Good evening. We're picking up where we left off last time. In front of nobody. You've done well to make it this far, Riku. Your reputation is well deserved. But to be scared of the darkness, what a waste. I'm not scared. I can see that you are. You have the potential to control it, cast away the fear that weakens you. Unbind your heart and take hold of the darkness within. And if I say no, then you end here, light, darkness, and all. See the power of darkness. I, Lexaeus, will not yield to a frail-hearted craven. Now end your resistance and let the darkness in. Oh, that's like all of my bones. I don't think that there was much I could have done about that, if I'm being perfectly honest. This kind of gimmick, maybe I'll find out what it is if I survive more than 3 minutes. 2.5 of which are spent in cutscene. This gimmick is 1 billion damage, gotcha. Well, with any luck, going into the fight with full health will be, better. He's got a lot of health by the looks of things. Oh, if he hits me, it just stuns me. Alright. Behold the darkness. Kinda went the wrong way. Oh, he actually shook the arena. Alright. I don't know why Riku keeps pointing the wrong way. Also, I'm kind of missing the Mickey cards. Oh, hey, the Mickey cards. I like how he just goes flying. I get it. The solution was to just cast Fireball 17 times in a row. Such power. What's wrong, Lexaeus? Is that all that darkness can do? Riku. Glass houses, stones. Without Dark Mode, you would have had a much harder time with that. Well, it seems I am beaten. But the organization shall triumph. I may perish, but the darkness within me will billow forth and devour you. See, I hear that, and I think, oh, free power. What in the... Hooray for edgy power-ups. And he's dead. What happened? Where am I? I can see clearly. I wonder who this mysterious Ansem-shaped figure is. Lexaeus? Riku, I can see your heart. No, it can't be. Darkness this foul could only belong to one person. That's it, remember me. Let me drift into your heart. Ansem. Mwahaha, you called my name, Riku. You're thinking about me. You're afraid of the darkness I command. Good. The more you think of me, the closer my return draws. And when I awaken, your heart will be mine. Dude, if you're gonna go after somebody's heart, like maybe pick somebody closer to your own age. Riku's like 12. Riku, fight! Don't let Ansem take you! That voice... Your Majesty! Meddlesome king! Ah! But I lived. The king protected me. Your Majesty, where are you? Please answer. Ow, my bones. But I lived. In my previous incarnation. You're with me, aren't you? That would explain why I kept being able to summon you. First Vexen, and now Lexaeus is gone as well. I could totally win. What's to become of the organization? Larksan's out of the picture too. Naminé turned on her. Gee, I wonder who's next. Maybe you. Me? Nah. I already took my pounding from Sora. He thinks I'm done for good. I don't plan on doing a repeat performance anytime soon. No, I think Marluxia is next in line to go. You think Sora will win? Because anybody who beats you is unbeatable, is that it? That's the idea. Marluxia planned to use Sora against the organization. So it's fitting that Sora should be his downfall. Then we won't be needing Riku anymore. Good luck disposing of him. You want to take on somebody who wasted Lexaeus? That's not how I do things. Tell me, how did you get the data on Riku's home? Huh? The air has changed. One of the senses died, a really strong one. That was Marluxia, keeper of this castle. Ex-keeper, I should say. The Keyblade Master just finished him off. Keyblade Master? You mean Sora? Sora's here? Would you like to see him? Or should I say, can you face him? What does that mean? Darkness and Ansem's shadow nest within your heart. Aren't you ashamed to face Sora in that state? What? Sora's fate is to battle the darkness. As the hero of light, he must oppose hosts of dark. In other words, you. If you don't believe me, then you'd best see the truth for yourself. This card, this is our... Yes, your home. Destiny Islands. I never thought I'd miss the island winds so much. Funny, there was a time I couldn't wait to get off this rock. And now I'm acting all relieved. Is that... Hey. These would actually be the first people that Riku saw, wouldn't it be? What's with you guys? I don't think I've ever seen the three of you so quiet. What? Is there something on my face? Guys? Sad Riku. Writing the dialogue for Reverse Rebirth must have been really easy. Riku, use the darkness. No. Riku, use the darkness. No. Riku, use the darkness. No. Also, yeah, Riku really doesn't have anybody to blame but himself for this. Hey, what's this look like? It's kind of Mickey-shaped.
Come on! My turn!
Riku, don't use the darkness. No, good. Gosh darn it. He accidentally duck seasons somebody into accepting like a demonic contract. Oh, the cards on Destiny Island aren't very good.
My turn! Come on!
That's fine though, I'll make it work. I returned to my full power. Good question, I'm always at full power.
My turn! My turn! My turn!
I should probably look at what those organization cards actually do. Given my previous realization that I'm probably meant to be using these. Almighty Darkness. Maybe I should put some points into hit points. Obliterate enemies with a finishing blow of a combo. Alright. Potentially very fun. I will not regret leveling hit points for what's to come. I mean, I can just spam Dark Faraga by the looks of things. Get away with it. They can't stop me with the fireballs.
My turn! Come on! My turn! My turn!
I could have just like no and turned off my my shadow form. I'm not sure what obliterates enemies actually means in practice. Is it meant to be like an actual Santesican type effect? Because I'm seeing a miss, and maybe that just means that I'm like not rolling the instant death.
Come on! My turn! My turn!
Okay, that explains why sometimes they just disappear. So it is RNG death.
My turn!
I'm just imagining using that against like whatever the boss of this thing is and just instantly popping it.
My turn!
glad I could help.
Come on. Come on. Come on. My turn. My turn. Come on. My turn. Come on. My turn. My turn.
Feels kind of weird to be grateful for Ookie Boogie. But here I am, regenerating health and kind of grateful that I fought Ookie Boogie earlier. Feels like the kind of person who, like, doesn't often leave people feeling, happy that they've encountered him.
Come on. My turn. Come on. My turn.
Whenever Piku's campaign qualifies as a Mega Man game, he does have a gun. His shirt is also lemon-colored, so, like, he's got that representation happening.
My turn. Come on.
He does yoink boss's powers, but, like, Sora does that too. Also, actually, Oogie Boogie didn't have any regeneration powers as far as I recall, so
My turn.
it's not really enemy themed, it's just sort of an ability named after them. Imagine if we could just, like, at one point went up and didn't come back down. I think that'd be funny. Kind of like if you take a Dragoon to the moon and then they do a jump. They should just not come back down.
My turn. My turn. My turn. My turn.
I do appreciate that he goes my turn whenever he just makes something disappear. It's like I will send you into darkness. Cleverly hidden behind a palm tree. A 7 or better green card. Well, I got a 7 or better right there. Darkseid was the boss for Destiny Islands, if memory serves. Kairi. Hey Kairi, don't tell me you... Ah. No, no, no. Surely you knew this would happen. Why would I know that? You've been to a number of worlds in your memory before this one, and in those worlds you met only dark beings. That's all that's left in your heart. Dark memories. Your memories of home are gone, each and every one. That's a lie. I remember everybody from the islands. Tidus and Selby and Waka. Kyrie and Sora too. They're my friends. And who threw away those friends? Maybe it's your own actions that you forgot. You destroyed your home. Objectively true. This is kind of all Riku's fault. Like, he was enabled by Ansem, but Riku pulled the trigger. This is that night. The islands you grew up on were sundered, scattered. Many hearts were lost to the darkness. Because of what you did. No. You hated being an islander cut off from other worlds. So you opened the door to darkness and destroyed the islands. You did that. And now you belong to the darkness. Look at what you are. This can't be me. Gaslighting isn't real.
My turn. Come on.
Hopefully Riku has an easier time killing this thing than Sora did.
My turn. Come on. Come on.
Notice that Riku could just, like, jump up and actually hit its face. I don't think Sora could do that.
My turn. My turn. My turn. Come on.
I should be farming breakpoints. Like that, yes. Big pogo, nerd. Once more. Like, I like how I can't even, like, tell how much health he has. Just bouncing on his head, living my best life. He's just kinda cool with it. This is just the boss fight now. This is why you gotta put some zero cards in your deck, my dude. And he's dead. Yeah, that was like a million times easier than it was for Sora. Oh, Sora. Stop it, Sora. Don't you recognize me? Yeah, I recognize you. I can see exactly what you've become. Gah. Look at you shrinking away from the light. You're not Riku anymore, you're just a pawn of the darkness. So be it. It's time for you to face the light. I'm fading, consumed by the light. You won't fade. You can't fade. No power can defeat you. Not the light, not the dark. So don't run from the light, and don't fear the darkness. Both will make you stronger. Darkness too? Especially darkness, because that power is yours alone. Ignore that, like, the vast majority of the bad guys also have that power. It's just yours. The darkness in your heart is vast and deep. But if you can stare into it unflinching, you'll never know fear again. All this time I've been pushing the darkness away. Just be brave. Know that the darkness is there, and don't give in. Do that, and you'll gain strength unlike any other. You'll be able to escape the deepest darkness. And I'll be able to see through the brightest light. Follow the darkness, Riku. I'll show you the way to the friends you miss. But can I face them? You don't want to? You know I do. And I will. The darkness, my darkness, will show me the way. Ansem just had to put on a face like a cute anime girl and be like, actually, what if you did use the darkness? And we could be like, okay, yeah, sure. Darkness, awaken. Impossible. How did you find me in the light? You reek of the dark. Even the light can't block out the smell. I followed the darkness right to you. After all your protests, you're still just another darkling. I know who I am. Since when? You were terrified of the dark before. I'm not now. Ah, hypocrite. And he's dead? Question mark? He got away. He's not dead. Yeah, Kingdom Hearts 1 was extremely black and white, so it is kind of nice to see a slightly more nuanced take in Chain of Memories. People chose him during Hollow Bastion. I kind of took that as him, like, doing a shenanigan to steal it.
My turn.
Like, otherwise it would have just, like, stuck with him, I feel like. What is he? No one's ever worn the darkness the way he does. It's not possible. Riku? Oh, wait, no, sorry, that's not him. Whatever. Oh, yes, of course. Vexen's replica. Good thinking. We can use this Riku to defeat the real one. Axel? Say, Riku, it must be hard now that you know that you're not real. I bet you'd like to be real. Yeah? Well, you can. All you need is strength that the real Riku doesn't have. Get that, you can be a new person, your own person, not Riku, not anybody else. You'll be somebody else's copy. You'll be you. Axel, what are you telling him? You know, I bet he's as good a place to start as any. Have you lost your mind? Sorry, sexy. Saving you doesn't seem half as entertaining as observing Sora and Riku. No, stop. And he got eaten. Riku. Riku. Who's there? Of course, that voice. I know you can feel it, Riku, the grip I have on your heart. You've let the darkness in, and all-consuming darkness is what your heart shall become. I'm not like that anymore. I think you are. I can't move. The deeper the darkness runs in you, the stronger I become. Controlling your body is an effortless task. You interfering again? Golly, I'm glad I made it in time. That should keep Ansem tied up for a while. Sorry I couldn't come sooner, Riku. Your Majesty, it's you. You betcha. Hey, cut it out, that tickles. Huh? This time you're real. No illusions. I'm glad you came. I promised, didn't I? Don't worry, I'm okay. Just really relieved, that's all. I've been alone for so long that having somebody else around is a little overwhelming. How did you get here, Your Majesty? I thought you were really far away. This card showed me the way. I was looking for the way out of the realm of darkness, and then this card came along. As soon as I picked it up, it showed me your heart way out beyond the darkness. And that's how I tracked you down. I guess the card thought it belonged with you. Maybe you're right. The power of light should keep Ansem locked up for a while. Sounds like an FF8 song. I've never played FF8. Oh, Twilight Town. Where am I now? I don't remember this place. Your Majesty, do you know where we are? Your Majesty? His Majesty is not here. You must battle me and the darkness alone. Giving up already? Then accept your fate and accept Ansem as your master. You're not Ansem. Your scent, it's different. The Ansem in my heart smells darker, more foul. But not you, it's not darkness I smell, it's something else. I know. You're the one who guided me when this all started. You pretended to be Ansem and gave me the card to make me face the darkness. Correct. Call me Diz. It's as good a name as any. I've been watching you all along. This design's cool, albeit edgy. Who are you really? What do you want from me? It's Diz, he explained that. I want you to choose. Choose? You are special. You exist between light and dark. You stand in the twilight. I want you to meet Namine, and then choose. Namine? Who's that? You'll just have to meet her and find out. Hey, wait a sec. One or better, I don't know if I can afford that. Looks like I can go straight into that event room, question mark? Oh, my deck this time around looks pretty decent.
Come on. Come on. Come on.
And they're dead. What if the card's numbers being like way higher is like representative of how Riku's accepted the nature of his power? Like he was getting weaker over time because like his heart was wavering, and then like now he's accepted who and what he is. He's at full power. That's kind of cool if so. Gameplay integration.
My turn.
Bog Tartless. On the heads, with a sword. My legendary weapon, the Blade Blade. Maybe nominee is in here. Hold it, real thing. Well, well, you've changed. Last time we met, you were afraid of the darkness, but not anymore. How can you tell? Because I'm you. No, I'm me. I'm me, he says. It must be nice being real. A fake like me could never get away with saying that. That's right, I'm a phony, the way I look, the way I feel, everything. I thought by finding some new strength I could be someone who's not you. But nothing changes, I'm still just empty. Everything about me is borrowed. As long as you're around, I'll never be anything better than a shadow. But if I kill you, I can become a Sonic. Three more points worth of break should put me into dark mode. Dark Aura? Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, that's my move, stop it. Oh, there goes my dark mode. Gotta be careful to preserve those 0 cards. Like, really careful.
Come on.
I also noticed that he has to reload like Sora does.
Not yet.
Unfortunately, Fireball solves all problems, including me. Well, it's not like I can fiddle with my deck, so... I just have to get better. This is fine. Or grind? Nah. I just have to get better. It'd be kind of nice if I could at least rearrange the order of the cards. I don't think I can do even that, though. Or can I? What if I can? Because I don't have access to the add or remove menus, but I do have access to the review menu. If I die again, I might try that. Because if I can put my zeros just to the left of the, just to the left of the reload, that'd be nice. Burning my high-value cards, probably not a good idea. One more break, dark mode, there we go. Didn't actually need to burn that 0. Whoops. The controls in this game can be a bit fiddly at times. And there's the sun. I should probably activate Oogie Boogie.
Not yet.
Unfortunate. Maybe like 1 hit point level. Also, can I move cards around? No, I can't. How close am I to leveling? Like 1 encounter, I think. I'm getting some pretty decent, pretty decent EXP rewards from random encounters at this point. Okay, I thought that I got, like, more than that. Evidently I don't.
Come on. Come on.
wonder how Darkbreak chooses targets. Is it like the highest health enemy, or... Oh, high-value Teeming Darkness. That would have been useful as Sora. Alright, round 3, but 1 if you're going by canon. Whole bunch of dialogue. I could get 1, maybe 2 more attempts, and then it's time for a break. I think my best shot is to let him do slides and then I interrupt them. So I can trigger my dark mode. Actually, I feel like he's way better at constructing, like, high-value slides than me, so maybe I should just spam. There's all of his cards back, and that's me dead. This feels like it's going to be a challenge. He can just construct slides that are high enough in value to cancel whatever I'm doing. Including my own slides. Maybe if I like specifically fished for like my 9 value cards. Did like a teleport spamming attack. Or I could pull a Sora and burn all of my cards until I've only got zeros left. And then just like block everything he does that way. That might work actually, especially with how fast Riku reloads. That might actually work, come to think of it. We got 1 extra hit point level under our belt. Our attack is as high as it can go. Fake Riku is angry because he's fake Riku. Ow, my bones. Okay, that is chunking him. That definitely got some work done. Here's all his stuff back. That's me stunned. Need to be careful because if I take damage, it reduces how long I can spend in dark mode. I should actually go look and see, like, exactly what numbers trigger Dark Aura, because that seems like the skill to use. Base 27? I don't know, I feel like I saw him use it with less than that. And I exploded. Let's find out, though. Dark Aura is exactly 27, so it has to be 999. Alright then. How many 9s do I even have in my deck? 1, 2, 3. So I can use 1 Dark Aura. Unless I can get my cards back somehow. Which I think I might be doing, I'm not certain. Alright, now that there's music playing, we're going to take a 5-minute break. Please use this time to refill your beverage, go to the bathroom, anything that would take you about 5 minutes. I will see you shortly. I return. During the break, I had a little bit of dark chocolate, and I was looking at the ingredients list. There's like ingredients, unsweetened chocolate, and sugar. And I was like, I don't think you quite understand the agenda, the objective, the purpose here. Sweetened chocolate with sugar would be extra sweet. Yeah, but like... the point is that it's not sweet. There's that third 9. There it is. Now it's my turn. Yeah, he can trigger Dark Aura with, like, way less value than I can. Basically, he's cheating. So, yeah. Oh, Jigsaw, welcome. Oh, I lost my darkness right as I was about to use this light. Oh well. I wonder if maybe Jafar would be good here. Yeah, I feel like Jafar is good here. I feel like Jafar is really good here, actually. Oh, shoot. I mean, it's not like I care about him getting his stuff back. Oh, and I'm stunned, so I'm probably dead. I'm dead. Still, though, finding out that Jafar just screws him over, I can probably just beat him with that. Next time I go into Dark Mode, I'll pop Jafar and just spam slides. He doesn't have zeros, so like... or even if he did, I don't think that would matter. Also, Pink, welcome. I'm fighting me, except it's not me because it's lived slightly different experiences to me. And it wants to kill me so that it can be me despite already being me. Okay, where to put Jafar? There he is. Okay, so Jafar doesn't protect my slides. You know, I just realized 998 creates like, or rather there's a window, like a narrow window where 998 actually doesn't trigger anything. Because Dark Aura is 27 and then Firaga is like 15 to 25, I think. So if you hit 26, you just set nothing off. It's kind of funny. I blocked a bunch of times while reloading, nerd. It's not that this guy wants to be Riku, it's that this guy was, like, made to be Riku, and I legitimately don't know which one I am at this point. Here we are. He was made to be Riku, and since Riku's better at being Riku than Riku is, he's kind of having an identity crisis. Please stop hitting me. I don't like being sunblocked like this. There we go. I win. And he's dead. So, this is the end. Figures. But I'm not afraid. Good riddance to an artificial light. I never had a real heart. Even what I'm feeling now is probably fake. What are you feeling? What happens when somebody who's not real dies? Where will my heart go? That is, if it doesn't disappear completely. It'll go somewhere. Probably the same place my heart will go. Heh, how original. Oh well. Yeah, barely good enough is good enough. I question why we'd go this way, because there seems to be nothing there. R.I.P. that guy, you weren't a real one. That's funny. When I get around to playing Kingdom Hearts 2, just being able to, like, mash the attack button and not have my attacks get interrupted by somebody on the other side of the screen swinging their fist is gonna feel so nice. Is this the first time Riku's had a key of guidance? I feel like it might be. Usually it's just Kia beginnings and then he just leaves.
Ha! Ha!
I guess after this would be the Castle Oblivion level,
Ha!
which is probably what you meant by the best grinding spot.
Ha! Hey! Ha!
Here we are. Big price tag. Your nominee? Yes. So that was you. Huh? Nothing, never mind. Please come this way. Hey, it's Sora. What did you do to him? Nothing, he's just sleeping. He has to get his memory back. Because I fucked it up. Okay, I didn't do nothing, but like, I'm undoing it. So I think that you shouldn't stab me. Tell me what happened. I see. Sora chose to forget about this castle and get back his old memories. You have a decision to make too. Why? Nobody's been messing with my memories. Riku, you think you knew Sora? It's not about your memories, it's about your darkness. In your heart is darkness, and in that darkness is Ansem. Right now, he's at bay, but eventually he'll awaken and he'll conquer you when he does. Before that happens, let me lock your heart tight. I can make it so that Ansem never escapes. And what happens to me if I let you do that? Will I forget everything like Sora? I will, won't I? The darkness in your heart will be sealed along with your memory. You'll stop remembering the darkness. You can go back to the way you used to be. It's your choice, Riku, so choose. I think in the remake, Lexion's actually a boss fight. Sora looks like he hasn't got a care in the world. Will I sleep that well? Yes. Sora always did as he pleased. It doesn't matter what we were doing. He'd still go off and leave me with all the work. Take the raft we were going to use to leave the islands. That was all me. I've made up my mind. When this slacker wakes off, I'm going to tell him off good. I told him to take care of Kairi, and here he is taking a nap. But I can't chew him out if I've been sleeping too. Keep your lock. I'd rather just finish Ansem off once and for all. But if the darkness he wields gets the better of you, I'll make that darkness show me the way. That's true. Why do I get the feeling you knew I'd say that? I didn't know. I'd hoped. I want you to face the darkness because you're the one who can. So that's why you came to me in the light, as Kairi. You knew? I knew as soon as I met you. Somehow you smell the same. Riku, why are you sniffing girls? Look after Sora. Well, I guess now I swing around and go to the other side. Like, if you want to talk to a girl about her smell, like, wait until she's had a shower, give her a hug, and then, like, comment on the smell of her shampoo. That's like the only way to do it that isn't creepy.
Ha! Ha! Ha!
Arguably worse, depending on what your relationship is. Okay, maybe don't like do that to your mom.
Ha! Ha!
I might need to end up farming more cards. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But if there is another level past this, then I probably have to. I just hope it's not another 99, 99, 99 lock.
Ha! Hey! Ha! Ha! Hey! Ha! 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 My turn! Ha! Ha! Come on! Ha! Ha! My turn! Ha! Hey! My turn! Hey! Hey! Come on!
My main reason for not wanting to grind like that is, ideally, I just finish the game tonight. Now granted, I'm reasonably certain there's not a third campaign, so if I did go overtime tonight to finish it, I probably wouldn't actually end up not actually finishing it. But I'd rather just finish it. In hindsight, I wonder if I should be using my zero cards to get through those doors, so I can save like the numbered cards for paying off cumulative expenses.
Ha! Hey! Ha!
Embrace the darkness, use the forbidden arts to skip the level grind. That is also an option.
Ha! 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 Hey! Come on!
I sure hope my deck in the final level is better than this.
Hey! Come on!
Like, not that it's bad, but against not Riku, it was
Come on!
kind of not good enough.
Ha! My turn!
I just need a deck full of nothing but 9s and 0s.
Hey! Ha! My turn! Hey! Hey! Come on! Ha! Oh! Ha! Ha!
That's what Lugian's the best deck. Gotcha.
Hey! Ha! Ha! Come on! Ha! Ha! My turn!
That is good. Speaking of, I should probably regen.
Ha! Hey! Oh! Hey! Ha! Ha! Hey! Ha! My turn! Oh! Ha! Ha! Come on! Ha! 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 My turn! Hey! Hey! Come on! Ha! Ha! My turn! Ha! Ha! My turn! Hey! Ha! 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 Come on! Ha! Hey!
Luckily I can just sleep. Alright, time for a boss fight against Mickey. So, you decided not to go to sleep, huh? How'd you know that? Because you're awake, dumbass. He's told me. Pardon my French, I don't know what came over me. You know him? I'm not really sure. I can't help feeling that I met him somewhere before. Hey voice, Diz. Who are you? I'm Diz. Nobody, or anybody. It all depends on whether you choose to believe in me or not while you're in front of me, so... verifiable. Boy, you really like pushing decisions on other people. And you pushed away slumber and chose to face Ansem. What, wrong answer? It was your answer. I'm just here to watch. Watch as in support me, or watch me get toasted. You choose. Then you need only believe in your choice. That card will draw the darkness inside you out into this world. Finish your business with Ansem. Let's go, Your Majesty. Golly, it sure feels like I've met Diz somewhere before. So, this card will draw Ansem out. Don't you worry, together we can defeat him. I'm glad you said that, but I have to face Ansem alone. But why? There's no point in doing this if I can't do it on my own. But I have a favor to ask. If Ansem wins, he's going to enslave me. If that happens, I want you to destroy... Sure, I'll save you, pal. Huh? You're not listening. I want you to destroy Ansem and me with... No can do. I already made my choice. No matter what happens, I'm going to be there to help you. I'm not backing down. Unless you don't believe I'll come through for you. It's my choice to believe or not. I know you'd never let me down, Your Majesty. Same here. You won't lose, not in a million years. Not in a billion years. You'd never let the darkness get the best of you, I'm sure of that. Disregard, like, essentially the entire plot up to this point. I do like how Mickey was just like, cut the edgelord crap, I'm gonna save you. Castle Oblivion. Show yourself, Ansem. Haha, what's the rush? I'll be here, at the heart of darkness. I'll be watching as you plunge into the very darkness you wield. Key of Beginnings. I mentioned this the last time I was here, but like I really like this tile set. I like the soft iridescent sheen. Mickey, I told you not to help me.
Come on! Ha! Ha! Come on! Ha! Ha! My turn! Ha! Ha! Come on!
Mickey, what did I just say?
Come on! Ha! 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 Hey, come on!
So like, does Mickey restore my burnt cards? Or does he just like reload me?
My turn!
I'm not actually sure on that. I should also probably check how many 9s are in this deck. I do appreciate that apparently the magic immune enemies aren't immune to Dark Theraga. Unless these ones aren't actually magic immune and I'm mistaking them for something else. Dark Parajka isn't magic, it's aura. Is that actually a distinction, or are you just memeing? Also, while I'm here, 8, 7, 6, 3 9s. 6, 7, 8, 4th 9. 5th, 6th 9. 2 high potions. And 4 zeros right at the end. It's actually very good. Oh, Castle Oblivion's not big at all. Even before the last one is, like, a lot. $13, not bad. Come on out, Ansem. I can smell you. Oh, I know what you can do. Your skill with darkness has matured. But I do not understand why accept darkness and still refuse me. You and I are similar. We both follow where the darkness leads. We exist in the same space, so why deny me? Perhaps some part of your heart still fears the dark. Wrong. The truth is, you just really stink. Stinky. You're a fool to choose a fight with me. You've been conquered by me once before. You should know what sort of power you face. Thank you for the hydration. And the rotation. Oh, I do. I used all the power you had to give and still lost to Sora. I'm not impressed. Very well, then sink it to the dark abyss. There's this guardian. Wanna preload this thing. On my bones. No, I just interrupt him a bunch of times until I get my stuff. And then I use my stuff. Or he hits me with a 0. Well, that plan won't work. It's got a lot of hit points. Oh, there's Mickey. I need him. It is Mickey. I could really go for a third Mickey. But again, he might not actually let me fire Mickey. I meant because, like, he'd use a 0 to break it, but like that too. Well, the last boss didn't have any 0 cards, so it was nice to use Dark Aura once. I think for this one, the play is probably just Jafar. Like, get into Dark Mode and then, like, use Jafar and just, like, beat the stuffing out of him. Maleficent's also an option. It would also be really funny if What's-His-Face's death effect worked. It almost certainly wouldn't, but It'd be funny if it did.
Not yet.
Oh, that time I just got my butt kicked. Full stop. Alright, so what's the strat here? I could just like play super defensively and like just like use my zeros to break him over and over. He's not gonna let me use any slides because he's got 0 cards. I do have Jafar, so I can get like a good 20 hits in on him. I can't stack enemy cards now. Please stop touching me. I do seem capable of stunning him, so that could be like a good place to use, say, Mickey Mouse Miracle. Never mind. It's like, don't worry, Riku, I'll protect you, unless he's faster than me, which he is.
Not yet.
Yeah, not sure what I can really do about that. Ursula for tanking, perhaps. If he uses anything cool, I can use Darkseid to copy it. Levels are Dark Magic. I can't use Dark Magic because he'll just break it. Maybe Trick Master, but that might bring everything of his down to 0. Might just have to get good. So I grab the Mickey card.
Not yet.
Yeah, this just isn't working. I really don't want to accept though that the solution might just be grind more. I don't like grinding.
My turn.
It feels like a
My turn.
less cool alternative to just like figuring something out.
Come on.
But he's just so overwhelming. I'm not sure what I should be doing about that.
My turn. Ha. Ha. Hey. Hey. Ha. 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 Oh. Ha. 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 My turn. Ha. Hey. Ha. Oh.
Legit, maybe I should just go for like the zero spam. Like if it's done but it works, then it's not done, you know? Granted, he might still nickel and dime me, but if I'm just constantly interrupting him, then maybe he won't. I'm still gonna run into the problem of Mickey Mouse not being fast enough to actually heal me. Actually, this deck has 4 zeros at the back end, I'm pretty sure. Okay, his lightning kick just comes out frame 1. I don't have the ability to respond to it before it's already hurt me.
Not yet. Not yet.
Alright, I was hoping that Mickey would be enough to, like, break him. It wasn't. I think he wants me to submit. Okay, if I haven't made any meaningful progress by, say, the top of the hour, I may simply do a shenanigan.
Submit! 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 Submit!
Yeah, I don't like grinding like that, not in a game like this. Like, there's no decisions being made, it's just grinding until number go up. That's not fun. Like, at least with Sora, you could, like, fiddle with the deck to make different decisions. But doing that for Riku doesn't feel like fun.
Not yet. Submit! Submit! Submit!
I didn't actually need to use that, but we'll take it.
Submit! 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 Submit!
Like, I can't even dodge most of these, like I'm putting in the input. And Riku's just like stun locked. Like, hitting him over and over with like 0 cards does seem to be working, but only for like 4 hits in a row. And then if I like accidentally trigger dark mode, it forces me to reload, which gives him time to start doing the same thing to me. And those lightnings come out so fast. Yeah, this, not to complain, but this doesn't feel like the kind of difficulty that I enjoy. We'll see what happens. If I was allowed to use Emma Miracle, I would be less, annoyed. You know, I believe that you grinded to 99. I just don't want to do the same thing. Like, I think the thing that's like kind of getting me is if I were allowed to use him in Miracle, if I could like heal myself, I'd be fine, but I can't. Would it maybe like Trickmaster would help me here? This one? It'll like lower the value of his cards whenever I get broken. Or does that only work when he, like, breaks something that I'm using, not when I use something that bounces off what he's using? I do feel like just using my cards like with that particular cadence is the best thing I can be doing. Oh, there we go. I actually got a heal up. Hold on. I just instantly put Mickey in the slide every time he shows up. Big damage, I don't like that. Hook once again fails at his one job. The fact that I actually did get a Mickey Mouse off has given me some level of also. Chica for instant max level, I won't need that. Shoot.
Not yet. Submit! 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 Take this!
I just have to keep hitting him. Sorry for being quiet, I'm kind of locking in. I wouldn't necessarily call this a super boss. Like, a super boss isn't just, like, ridiculous stats and not letting you play the game. A super boss is like making sure that like you're a master of like the game's mechanics. This is just like, hey, what if you can't use your like mechanics? Because they interrupt everything. And watch my attacks come out playing one. Oh dear. I don't know if they can hit me like 4 times with that. Like he knocks me upwards and then hits me again because he's flying upwards. Also, his thing blocking my attacks is kind of annoying. But it seems that as long as I hit him when he's trying to do something, it doesn't do that, so that's not too big of an issue. I don't like that I can't load Mickey cards into my slides while I'm in stun. Shoot. 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 You know, I probably could put some of my lower cards just into slice to burn them on purpose. Like these 6 values. I actually do feel like I could do this though. A lot of it does come down to whether or not, like, my MM miracles are allowed to go off, but if I can get like 1 or 2 of those off, I can probably kill him.
Not yet. Submit! Submit!
Problem is, as far as I can tell, I don't actually have any agency whatsoever over whether or not MM Miracle actually happens. I could try to like count how many 0 cards he has in his deck, and then only use it after he's used that many of them. But then I'd have to be like paying attention to like the numbers of everything that he uses. Which to be fair, I've at least done before. It doesn't matter if I wait for him to not be using a slide, because he can just use a 0 card and cancel it. And even if he doesn't have a slide, he can load one instantly. Once reloading, however. That's a nice big stun lock that he can't interrupt halfway. And he's dead. I got him. Insolent brat. Ah, thank you for the head pats. Handsome. And he's dead. You're finished. Hardly finished. I gave you the dark. My shadow lingers. I will return. I know you wanted to do this alone, but you don't mind a little help, right? Let's go, Rico. All the characters are just kind of like aura farm in silence. But also, I do like how Rika was just like, no, Twilight doesn't lead to darkness. Like, it's nightfall and it's dawn. So that does kind of still cast light as, like, ultimately what you want to be at. Which I guess it kind of is if you're not a creature of darkness. You know, we've already seen all of these, so let's do a little bit of this. We could go a little bit faster. Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories Reverse Rebirth. I think that's Twilight Town. Who is this mysterious boy? There's no sound. Walking this road without you to remake forgotten promises and meet you at road's end. And the end, like actually. Well, like I say, Hollow Knight Randomizer on Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful night. Good night.